Hello and welcome to this Bulldog football preview. I'm Rob Bentley, the voice of the Bulldogs, joined by Sandy Golston, color commentator for Ferro State football. Bulldogs behind us practicing here at Detroit Catholic Central High School in preparation for Saturday's NCAA Division II Showcase National Game of the Week against Central Washington. And Sandy going to board the flight here shortly for Seattle. Long road trip here, but this Bulldog team has been a very good road team under head coach Tony Annese.
Yeah, I think we really saw that last year in the playoffs, where the Bulldogs really went on the road and faced some very tough competition in the playoffs, as you would expect. And the Bulldogs went into some tough environments, not only on the road but at a neutral location, and they played very well. So the Bulldogs, I think, are really battle-tested on the road. And this is going to be a big test early in the season, going on the road across the nation, really, to the West Coast, to Seattle area, and you're playing a team playing its first home game of the season. So you know that place is going to be rocking. Going to be a big challenge for the Bulldogs.
Longest road trip in school history here for Ferro State, over 2,000 miles to Ellensburg, Washington, where the Bulldogs will take on the Central Washington Wildcats tomorrow at 4:05 p.m. Pacific Time, 7:05 p.m. Eastern Time, ESPN3, live coverage across the nation, and obviously a nationally televised game and a marquee matchup between two of the top teams, one from the Midwest and one from the West Coast.
Yeah, it's really kind of a dream matchup in Division II when you think of two teams from really coming from almost the opposite coasts to have a meeting this early in the season. And we've seen already in Division II this year, we've seen some really good matchups in the first 2 weeks. We, of course, had a great matchup with Findlay in Week 1, 24-23 win for the Bulldogs. So this is going to be another big game, and then you put it on ESPN3. That's going to be something that's going to even elevate it even more. So should be a great game for the Bulldogs to go on the road and to see where they are early in the season again.
Bulldogs, you mentioned, coming off that win over Findlay, a tight game, a regional-type matchup against the Findlay Oilers. They'll take on a Central Washington team that took FCS Idaho all the way down to the wire.
Yeah, they really did, and you know they did it in a variety of different ways. Offensively, they really mixed it up. They had some trick plays that they threw in there. They had a quarterback that came in, played pretty well, a very young quarterback in their system, and so they really showed some promise there in that game. It was a close game against an FCS team on the road, so they're feeling really confident coming home to their home crowd. So the Bulldogs certainly going to have their hands full against Central Washington.
Part of a difficult three-game opening stretch here for the Bulldogs. Will not get any easier next week when the Bulldogs open GLIAC play at Ashland, but certainly you have to put this one first. The Bulldogs with a long road trip, a lot to contend with, and we wait and see how they're going to do at Central Washington.
Yeah, it's really like an extension of the playoffs when we think of the way that we ended the season with the tough games that we had on the road in the playoffs, and then you start this season with three really tough games, two of which are going to be on the road. So the Bulldogs knew they were going to be tested early in this season. They responded in Week 1 against a very good, balanced Findlay team, and now they're going to get a similar test here against Central Washington. This time the Bulldogs, of course, going on the road. But you're right, to begin the season, you don't want to look ahead too much to Ashland, but you certainly know that they're looming on the horizon after Central Washington. But first things first, Bulldogs looking to get a win over the Wildcats in Week 2.
Sandy, what will be some keys here for the Bulldogs to get that win over Central Washington and move to 2-0 on the year?
Well, I think one of the big keys when you go on the road in a game early in the season, the other team's first home game, you know there's going to be extra energy. The crowd's going to be fired up. Looks like the weather's going to be pretty good out there in the Seattle area. So the Bulldogs are certainly going to have a challenge there. It's going to be important for them to get off to a good start. I think also it's going to be important for them to protect the football, not turn it over, and give Central Washington, particularly early in the game, extra opportunities. And I think also they're going to have to be on guard against the trick plays that we saw. Might not see as many against the Bulldogs as we did against Idaho, because they really had nothing to lose in that game going on the road, but that's going to be a challenge as well. And I think offensively for the Bulldogs, it's going to be a matter of really establishing the run early in the game to really get that going. And then defensively, I think the Bulldogs have to be on their toes and be prepared for anything that could come at them.
We'll have all the live coverage for you. Ferro State at Central Washington on Saturday, 4:05 p.m. Pacific Time, 7:05 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll have the live pregame coverage on Sunny 97.3 and the Bulldog Sports Network, online at ferrostatebulldogs.com, starting at 6:30. This has been the Bulldog Football Preview as the Bulldogs gear up for the trip to Central Washington.